Yep. Okay. Um, Forgot to put music on. Music we'll be using is Retro 28. This is doing a different video to speak more freeform. I mean, they're all freeform, but like this one's gonna be more freeform. It's what I'm gonna be talking about is actually Pokemon. Talking about why speed is interesting, at least in VGC. Speed is an interesting concept, and for this, we're going to be using a few different Pokemon. First, we're going to talk about is. Let me change this to VGC here. First, we're going to talk about Fluttermane, or the difference between Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, and by the way, this is from Glitch City. Go check out their channel if you haven't. Music that is. And Dragapult are the three ones I want to talk about here because they're very interesting in the way they mesh with each other. So first of all, should I show shiny? No, they don't. Okay. Dragapult is the fastest Pokemon in the format that is actually like kind of used, even though you can see here even on Pikalytics. If I go to Pokedex. Let's just say I go to Switch. You can see that Dragapult is not very used. Like it's all the way down. It's 56 in usage. Like it's pretty low, but it is still used. It's in the top 50, top like 60 Pokemon, which is not bad. So the most used Pokemon, of course, is Fluttermane by a quite decent margin. I mean, this thing is on like probably 90% of teams. Yeah, so you can see the most commonly used item is Boost Energy as well as Choice Specs. It also has an interesting amount of, we can't see here, let's go to Showdown for this, because they actually show the EV spreads in Showdown. So you see its most commonly ran spread on Showdown is 212 HP, 36 special defense, and 124, that's 132 defense, 36 special attack, 4 special defense, and the 124 124 speed. So it's actually not running a lot of speed. Even on Showdown, its most used item is most likely going to be Booster Energy. And then let's go back to Iron Bundle now, which is going to be probably around 20th, right here. So on Showdown, its most commonly ran item is also Booster Energy. We can see that its most commonly ran spread is 252 Timid, whereas Fluttermane actually it does run a Timid set for its most commonly ran spread, but its most commonly ran spread it doesn't use that much speed. It only uses 124. And this is where this is the crux of our argument, or the topic today, at least for these three. Dragapult, if you also go to Dragapult here, it has to run all the way down here. Oh my god. Please, I'm just trying to find Dragapult. Dude, why does it keep resetting it? Oh my god, I'm not gonna find it. It's not gonna let me find Dragapult. Here it is. Okay, found it. Its most common set is also a 252 max speed with Jolly. And the only one that its lower speed is 212, which is interestingly going to outspeed Iron Bundle, most likely by 1 point, no, by a few points apparently. So yeah, this thing goes out of speeds, but you can kind of see the point. Dragapult always has to run enough speed to outspeed Bundle. Bundle always has to run enough speed to outspeed Fluttermane. And this is the basis of why speed is so interesting in VGC, because in singles, for instance, oftentimes these singles will all run max speed, or just like enough speed to outspeed other things, and you do that in VGC as well. But despite this, speed is more interestingly can be a detriment to a Pokemon, because Fluttermane is so used. I mean, it's literally the most used Pokemon. It's got on Showdown 68% it has 68% usage on Showdown. The reason why Fluttermane is so good, it's versatile. Its Ghost Fairy typing is an excellent typing, both offensively and defensively. It's a Ghost type, or it's a Fairy type. It's a Ghost type that's not weak to Dark, and it's a Fairy type that's not weak to Poison, as well as the fact that it's immune to Normal, which means it's immune to Extreme Speed and Fake Out, which is hugely important for dealing with many things, especially Fake Out more so than anything. But and the fact as well as the fact that it's very fast and strong, but it's physically extremely frail. But because of its speed, because it can run booster energy, which this is also like was one of the main things, Dragapult is almost always going to be worse than these two in terms of a fast Pokemon. Mostly because, not because offensively it actually has, I think, the best typing of these three, although Ice Water with Freeze Ray is very good offensively. But defensively and offensively it probably has the best typing since Dragon Ghost is such a good typing. And it obviously is the fastest one. And it's still very strong with 120 attack, and 100 special attack is manageable because you're so fast. Oh, excuse me. But what's interesting about Dragapult is, and the reason why it's less versatile than these two, is Dragapult can never fix its speed like these two can. These two can always just run, because they're Paradox Mons, they can always have the ability to run booster energy, and they're so naturally fast. If they run booster energy, even if they just have like a slightly bit more speed than their next highest stat, like as long as they get speed from booster, they're always gonna be fast in Dragapult for free. In Dragapult, it can run a Choice Scarf to be faster than them, but it's not actually, none of its attacking stats are as high, naturally high, as the special attack of these two, because it's like Bundle has 124 special attack and the Flutter Mane has 135. You know, they both have higher special attack stats than Dragapult's, even if Dragapult's attack stat is lower than both of those, since it's 120. It's not that much lower, but like, you know, it's still weaker than both of them, and if it runs a Choice Scarf, the main problem with Choice Scarf is that although yes, it is faster, and it has, technically it's a more versatile Pokemon in terms of attacking, since it can run both physical and special sets. Dragapult, unfortunately, when it uses, because it has to use Choice Scarf to fix its speed, and that sounds weird coming from a Pokemon that has base 142 speed, but because it has to use Choice Scarf to fix its speed compared to these two, that means the Dragapult always has to lock itself into a move, so it can never run something like Protect on a choice set. Whereas these two with Booster Energy can both run Protect and have them be able to use Protect as well as any other move they want. Like these two generally run very similar sets all the time. Like obviously Bundle only runs like this only set it usually runs, at least for Booster Energy. Flutter Mane usually runs Dazzling Gleam, something like Thunderbolt, Protect. Maybe like Icy Wind. Icy Wind's a lot less common on Flutter Mane because it has other things it can do and it wants to do. And Bundle, whereas Bundle like obviously wants to run Icy Wind because it's stab as well. But Flutter Mane and Under Iron Bundle are more versatile with regards to their speed, even though they have less speed than Dragapult, because they can run Booster Energy, and because Dragapult is faster than both of them. It has to, if it wants to be any sort of relevant, or if it wants to have any sort of relevancy, it has to go with max speed, because otherwise it cannot outspeed, or it's not gonna likely outspeed, or like it has to go with enough speed to outspeed both of them, and that means that it takes into, or takes away from the amount of bulk that Dragapult can run, or the amount of offense it can run. Like it would love to run like a Modest Nature. But it can't really do that because Bundle and Flutter Mane are so fast, and obviously can easily threaten Dragapult, since both of them at least have one stat that's super effective against Dragapult. Now on to Bundle and Flutter Mane, just as a duo. Both very good Pokemon. I personally like using Bundle more, because I just like Bundle as a Pokemon, but Flutter Mane is obviously probably the best Pokemon in the format, for a variety of reasons, but in terms of speed, Flutter Mane, as we saw, it doesn't have to run a lot of speed on its sets, and in fact it actually can really afford to run a lot of bulk. Like you see on the runs 124, but it runs 212 HP and 132 defense, which actually lets it live a lot of hits that you wouldn't expect to, and it can be very difficult to heal at full times, which is very hard, which is bad because like it does a lot of damage no matter what. Yeah, even if it's not running much, like here it only runs 36 special attack, but that doesn't matter because it has such a naturally high special attack stat that it makes it very difficult to stop even without that, especially with Terra, since it obviously usually goes like Terra Fairy. So this is the set usually runs. Okay, yeah, well, I forgot that. Not this. It runs like Shadow Ball. What am I saying? Of course, we're running double step. I don't know why I forgot Shadow Ball in this step. Yeah, like this is it. You can see it usually runs. Excuse me. It does run Ice Wind sometimes, but not that often. Like these are the moves that you can obviously see, like 59 to 19 is a big jump. These are the moves that run most often, and for good reason. Like it's a good set, and obviously it's Terra. Its most common Terra is going to be probably Fairy, because it wants the damage. But like you can see that even without doing too much, even without investing too much into, like even though 124, like 312, like I don't know why it's low. No, I know why, because it's even only at 24, it's still 158 special attack is still a lot. like Bundle with 24 is also still like pretty decent. Like 147 is not bad. Like those are pretty decent attacking stats for when they're this fast and they're not investing a lot into their special attack stats. Dragon Ball has to run enough speed to outspeed both of these, and that means it takes into account it loses a lot of bulk. Bundle has to, because a Bundle is 1 point faster than Fluttermane, it has to run enough speed to outspeed a Fluttermane, because otherwise it just kind of loses to it. And it loses its biggest advantage over Fluttermane, which is it is a faster Pokemon. So Fluttermane can therefore afford to run a lot lower amount of, a lot less speed, and just invest it heavy into bulk, because it knows it's never going to outspeed Bundle with a booster energy. It's never going to outspeed Dragon Ball or it can outspeed Dragon Ball, but like, you know, without booster energy, it's never going to outspeed Dragon Ball. So it can take advantage of that by running bulk, and this is where speed actually becomes a detriment for the Pokemon, because it forces these two into positions where they have to run so much speed that they cannot afford to run as much bulk as they would like. Like Dragon Ball would love to run more bulk, but it can't, because it has to outspeed these two. Bundle would love to run more bulk, but it can't, because it has to outspeed this thing. As well as the fact that also you have like Chien-Pao, which Bundle also has to outspeed, right? And like this thing, because it's also 135 speed, forces Bundle to run as much speed as it can, because it has to outspeed Chien-Pao. Otherwise, it can get like one shot or near one shot by Sacred Sword. Which is basically like you want to be able to kill it, and you want to be able to either fight it or just run away, or like outspeed it and icy wind it. Because, yeah, like that's what you want to be able to do, because you're faster than it, naturally. So this thing has to run max speed, and that means it can take away from its damage or bulk. Dragon Ball has to run more speed than it generally would want to, and then that takes away from its bulk usually. Fluttermane, like you said, it doesn't have to run that much speed, because even if it runs max speed, it's still speed tying at best with Chien-Pao, and oftentimes it can just, like, if you lose the speed tie 50-50, you just get hit anyway. So it's like, it's generally just a more consistent way of beating Chien-Pao is just running more bulk on your defense. Like, this is a lot of defense and a lot of HP, but Fluttermane gets away with it because it doesn't need to outspeed anything. And more often than not, it can either live an opposing Fluttermane Shadow Ball just because it has great natural special defense, especially when you invest it towards HP. It's a lot of, like, it's like pretty annoyingly bulky in its special defense. Like 154, 155 is like really solid special bulk there. Like it's really, really decent special bulk. Like this is near toxic level of special bulk, so like consider that. So this thing can usually live like an opposing Shadow Ball from Fluttermane, and then Chien-Pao, if it runs so much, like if it runs enough defense, like here with 132, it's actually going to take a fair amount of hits from like it will take at least one hit from Chien-Pao, and that one hit, like Chien-Pao is never living. Like no matter how, it doesn't matter how much special defense you run. This thing 80-65, this is not taking like a stab dazzling, like even a good dazzling gleam under spread will not. Like even a spread reduced dazzling gleam is going to do way too much to Chen, so it has to refocus session. And this is where Fluttermane becomes so versatile compared to the other two Pokemon here. Is that it can, like for a variety of reasons, it's better than these two for a few reasons, like especially Dragon Ball, but better than Bundle for a few reasons as well, but like it has certain advantages over Bundle. But in terms of speed, Fluttermane can afford to run less because it doesn't need to, because it knows it will never outspeed Bundle, and it usually, unless it's running Booster, like it doesn't need to run a lot of speed to outspeed Dragon Ball into Booster, and even if it runs max speed with Booster, it will never outspeed Bundle, it will never outspeed Bundle because Bundle, oh my god, I can't speak today. Bundle will always run enough speed, like, or always run max speed to outspeed Fluttermane. There's no point in Fluttermane running enough speed, and it's more consistent, like I said, to run bulk instead, because even if, like, at best you never outspeed Bundle, and then at best you speed tie Chien-Pao. So both of those, like, if you run enough speed and you don't run bulk, then it just means that oftentimes you're just playing for a speed tie, and yeah, you could, like, speed tie with Chen, you could beat Chen in the speed tie, but you just get down to its Sash anyways, which is an objectively less consistent way of dealing with it, rather than just like running more bulk and taking the hit and then killing it anyways, and then like or hitting it afterwards and then bringing it down to the Sash. Because like regardless, you take the hit, you're gonna have to take a hit from Chen because of Sash, and with more bulk, you have a better chance of actually taking a hit, which is a much more consistent way of dealing with it than just like trying to outspeed it or trying to speed tie it and then dying in the process and not killing it anyways. So this is where speed Pokemon usually is so good, and it's usually advantageous for the faster Pokemon. Like, this is the reason why Dragon Ball is so good in OU, because it's the fastest and it can always afford to run. Like, Dragon Ball OU can leverage its high speed because it's in a one-on-one format, and there's not really a lot that can deal with it. But in the VGC, speed can actually be a detriment like this, because it can take away from Pokemon's versatility, and that it has to run a certain type of spread or a certain amount of bulk, or not bulk, a certain amount of spread, like in speed. The difference is between something like Iron Bundle and Dragapult is that because Bundle can fix its speed just like Flare Main with booster energy, it also has this very high degree of versatility. Even though it only ever really even though it only really ever runs one set, which is the Hydro Pump, Protect, Freeze Dry, Icy Wind with like booster energy or Focus Sash, that still doesn't matter because those moves are like so. Hydro Pump is inconsistent, but Freeze Dry is such a good move as well as Icy Wind. They're such good like stab moves to have for it. And Hydro Pump when it hits, like especially with Terra Water, is really powerful because this thing still has a very like good 124 special attack set. And it does it because it is faster than Flare Main. It does have a very big advantage over that. Like it can, like if these two, if neither has boost energy, and you have, let's say you have Bundle and Urshifu on the field, right? And the opponent has Flare Main and like Heatran. Heatran is probably going to switch out, and Flare Main might try to attack you instead. Try to kill the Urshifu because it's going to be faster and knows it can live from the Iron Bundle. But if you use Bundle, then Icy Wind the Flare Main. The Flare Main, if it's not booster energy, like if it's Specs for instance, will be slower than the Urshifu, and then the Urshifu can just kill it afterwards, which is a really that's such a big tempo swing, right? So like if you have Urshifu Water in the field, or if you have Rabbitsark on the field, this thing you just go Surging Strikes with a Mystic Water or like a Terra Water Surging Strikes, and you probably kill the Flare Main right then and there. That is a huge tempo swing in your favor. And at that point, you have Bundle, you still have a your Pokemon, you can take any damage, and you just kill your opponent's Flare Main, which is the best Pokemon in the format. I mean, just use it twice, you can see that. So, and then because Bundle still has speed, you can also do it, sorry. Flare Main also can sometimes struggle with Urshifu, just because Urshifu like to use Terra Water. And so a lot of them run enough special defense to actually live either a Choice Specs Moonblast, or if they can, or like a Choice Specs Dazzling Gleam, if they Terra. But they don't really live Iron Bundle's Freeze Dry that well, just because it is stronger than Flare Main's Moonblast, and it's super effective. Because with super effective, it becomes, well, it's barely stronger, but it is super effective, which means that even if they Terra into water, they can't stop you from doing a lot of damage with Freeze Dry unless they Terra into a different type, but then they just lose out on the Surging Strikes damage, which is what they want. So more often than not, it's actually better for Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle generally has a better matchup to Urshifu than Flare Main, even though Iron Bundle is weak to fight. Well, I mean, I guess it's dependent, but the Bundle is a very difficult Pokemon for Urshifu to deal with sometimes, because it doesn't like doing the fact that Freeze Dry just always does a lot of damage to it, no matter what it does, because it's always going to run Terra Water. So yeah, and Flare Main, it has other things it has to worry about as well. It obviously is good versus something like Iron Hands, which a lot of am I on VGC? I am. Okay, so this is just good. Let's go. Here we go. Yeah, so obviously it has to worry, Flutter has to worry about Iron Hands a lot, because it has to run a lot of special attack to kill it, or has to a choice spec set, because Bundle or Hands just always runs in Assault Vest. And another thing that Flare also doesn't have is, although it can do a lot of damage, it doesn't have a very decent, it has a kind of 60-40, 40-60 matchup versus Landorus. Even especially if it's Assault Vest, it can be very hard for it to deal with Landorus effectively, because the Landorus can just live a hit and Stomach Tantrum for a lot of damage. But Bundle doesn't have this issue because it's an Ice type and naturally has powerful Freeze Dry that's spot effective against the Landorus. So even with Assault Vest, Landorus is probably not going to live a Bundle Freeze Dry, and that can make it very difficult for Landorus, especially when you also consider that there's a lot of other Pokemon in this format, like Tornadus, that don't like dealing with Ice. Whereas Flare Main doesn't really have this capability. It's mostly sticking to its varying Ghost type moves, whereas Bundle always sticks to its Ice type moves and Water type moves. So Bundle is way better against a lot of the Pokemon in the format, especially because Bundle is so fast that even if a Tornadus, for example, if you have a Choice Specs Flare Main and a Tornadus on the field, right, and they go for Tailwind, and the Flutter Main, they switch in their Flutter Main, and the opponent goes for Tailwind, and they switch in their Flutter Main, they switch out of their Landorus or something, right? They start Landorus Tornadus, and then you have like Bundle plus something else, and they switch out their Landorus because they don't want to die to freeze dry. Because Bundle isn't gonna die to an Arbok Slide because it's so physically bulky. So they go for like let's just say they go for Tailwind and switch in their Fluttermane because they know they're probably not gonna kill the Fluttermane with the Ice type move. But if you Icy Wind at that point, the Fluttermane, even because this is again why speed is also interestingly good, because Fluttermane is naturally slower than Iron Bundle. Even if they have a booster energy, but unless like if you're gonna be choice specs, but like even if they have a booster energy under Tailwind, which would be useless. But like if you don't, even, let's just say you have a Focus Sash Iron Bundle and they have a choice specs Fluttermane. If they switch in that Fluttermane and you Icy Wind, you still probably keep your Sash, and now you've lowered the speed of the Fluttermane to being only +1. So that means if you go for Icy Wind again, this Tornadus is also now -1, unless it's a Covert Cloak, and even then, if it is Covert Cloak, it's still going to be slower than Iron Bundle afterwards. Like, if you go for Icy Wind again, now you've actually lowered this Fluttermane speed so much that it's now -1, and again, it can be outsped by something like an Urshifu. Which is why Wait, no, I'm lying. I'm straight up lying. What am I saying? That's actually a lie. That's a straight up lie. Because it would just be +1. Or it'd be neutral speed. But now it's like, it's down to 135 speed most likely, and it can be outsped, it can probably be outsped by something like Chen, depending on this, the EV spread. But you see what I mean though, right? Like, Bundle, or this speed, Ice Wind is, like, Bundle's speed does actually matter, but it has certain advantages over Fluttermane, but it overall is generally a less versatile Pokemon because of this. Like, speed is both its greatest benefit here, and it's actually its detriment. Without speed, it wouldn't be as good as Fluttermane, but with speed, but with its speed, it's forced into certain types of sets. Whereas Fluttermane can run a lot more versatile sets than Bundle can, and that is probably why Fluttermane is, I would say, the best Pokemon in this format. Like, for a number of reasons. Obviously, it's immune to Fake Out, and there's not many Fairy types in this format, and there's a lot of Dark types going around, a lot of Fighting types, but Fluttermane, because of its capabilities of being so fast, as well as being so generically versatile, and forcing these two especially to run, like actually forcing all three of these to run a certain amount of speed, because like Chen also has to run most of the time max speed because it doesn't want to get outsped by Fluttermane. Like, it doesn't want to get outsped by Fluttermane, but it has to run out speed. It has to run max speed. Whereas Fluttermane is okay with getting outsped by Chen because it knows it can live the hit if it runs enough bulk. So Fluttermane is such a forceful Pokemon, or it's so centralizing the fact that it will force many faster Pokemon, like even Pokemon that are the same speed as it or have more speed, it will force them to run so much speed, and which takes away from their bulk and damage. Whereas Fluttermane can just easily run more bulk and damage. Like, you can easily run more special attack, it can easily run more defense and HP, because it doesn't need to run that much speed, because it always acts, or a lot of this comes from its ability to use booster energy, because without booster energy, it would have to generally run max speed. But because of booster energy, it can kind of afford not to. And so, like, it's also like a problem with booster energy more so than anything. But even without that though, like, its speed is so naturally high that it would force most of these to run that much speed anyways. And that kind of is the problem. Like, even without booster energy, it still forces these to run a lot of speed. Or it still forces all three of these to run max speed. And that is the biggest strength I think Fluttermane has in this format. An accompaniment obviously to its immunity to Fake Out, as well as its like stab fairy moves. Those are good, but I think its ability to force other things to run certain amounts of speed, and like run certain sets, is probably its best attribute here. And it's so interesting that even though Fluttermane is the best Pokemon in this format, the most used one, Rapid Strike and Iron Hands, which are both not great matchups for Fluttermane, or like both do not have great matchups against Fluttermane, are still both the second and third most used Pokemon. Amoonguss is actually obviously quite good versus Fluttermane. But it's so interesting that two of the top three have such bad matchups against Fluttermane, but are so good, are still so highly used. I guess it's a testament to probably the power of Fluttermane, because if Fluttermane wasn't in the format, it wasn't that good. Like, it wasn't. If it wasn't in the format, I mean, you'd probably be seeing these a lot more. Although you're probably seeing other Pokemon that Fluttermane keeps down as well. Like Urshifu's Single Strike would probably be a lot better without Fluttermane in the format. And I don't know, maybe something else. I don't know what else would be good. Like Roaring Moon, I guess, would be better without Fluttermane. But yeah, that's basically it. I just want to talk about this interesting little speed dynamic between Fluttermane, Bundle, Dragapult, and Chien-Pao. And so I think that kind of covers everything. And it's just, yeah. This is like why I think Fluttermane is such a centralizing Pokemon in terms of speed, because there really is nothing else that competes with it, and everything that competes with it or is higher than it is forced into certain. Like the summary is everything that competes or is better than Fluttermane in regards to speed has to is forced into certain types of sets, especially regards to speed. And Fluttermane, as such, can afford to run more versatile sets with regards to special attack, special attack and bulk, making it a more dangerous and unpredictable Pokemon than the other Pokemon it goes against. And that I think, like the other Pokemon on this team right now, like on these other Pokemon, that I think is its most interesting factor or interesting quality of Fluttermane, and it's a very interesting dynamic between these fast Pokemon in the format. And so yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching if you did. If you enjoyed it, cool. If you didn't, no, sorry. Yeah, that's it. Bye.